Welcome to Lyme Talk Radio with Dr. Pat Baccili. Epic healing for an epic life. This inspiring show highlights leading-edge solutions, groundbreaking research, headline topics, and tools for holistic healing and wellness. This hit show is dedicated to raising awareness, promoting advocacy and prevention, and supporting initiatives for optimal health. Dr. Pat is passionate and focused on life-saving results reaching far beyond Lyme disease, providing a forum for powerful stories, heart-opening experiences, and hope-activated solutions. Dr. Pat will shine a light on the many shades of Lyme disease fueled by a body, mind, spirit remedy. Now here's your host, Dr. Pat.
Hey everybody, welcome. It's so great to be connecting with all of you. I'm so excited about today's show, but more importantly, I am so excited about an idea that we have to raise funds for Lyme disease awareness. Now, many of you are probably saying, hey, what do you mean we need to raise funds for other things? Well, I have to tell you, I have talked to thousands of people over the past, I know you're going to be shocked, 11 years since my healing journey began. And what I want to say to all of you is beyond a few celebrities out there that are saying, you know what, I've got Lyme disease, the world doesn't really know about it. We have got ourselves, Dr. Ronnie DeLuce, and Dr. Darvish and countless others. We have a phenomenal idea on how to help raise Lyme disease awareness. And I want to tell you, today's show is all about that as well. Can't wait to introduce you to Greg Lee, my guest today. But here's what I want to say to all of you. Stay tuned. We have got a crowdfunding effort that is going to deliver an educational tool. And oh my goodness, it is in line with what we're doing on transformationradio.fm. It's not only going to be something that is available for people all over the world through their smartphones, but let me just tell you, we have gotten extremely creative in what we are going to do. And how is this all possible? Well, I'll tell you how it's possible. It's possible because we have people like my guest today, my guest, who is all about creating an avalanche of Lyme disease awareness, Greg Lee. I love this term, creating an avalanche of Lyme disease awareness. Now, for those of you out there, you know, it's not just enough anymore for us to step out into the world and have chit-chat or water fountain conversations about Lyme disease. And with so much misinformation out there, and you want to hear the latest, can't even get the results of your test. Can't even get it from the doctor. All you can get is, no, you don't have Lyme disease. Well, I'm telling you, this is a show. This is a show that's all about overcoming challenges, how to step forth, what does it mean to create an avalanche Lyme disease awareness. Why is Greg Lee so passionate about this? And how about Goodbye Lyme? How about it? I'm all about it. Well, Greg Lee is the driving force behind Two Frogs Healing Center, GoodbyeLyme.com, expert using Chinese herbs. Thank goodness somebody's speaking about that, and alternative medicines and treatments. Today, it is so important for us to understand that you can have the best Lyme disease test in the world, but if people do not even know or not aware of the many shades of Lyme disease, boy, you're rolling the boulder uphill. Greg, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Oh, what a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much for that, Pat. It's an honor to be on here, and hopefully I can share some things that help your listeners to get better and affect their healing. So thank you so much for that.
I have to tell you, congratulations to you. Thank you so much, Greg. I mean, I really mean it. Thank you for coming out and speaking out in a world that many, many people still do not even understand. They got a sense, Greg, right, that, this Lyme disease thing, that's a little something going on. But they don't really have a good sense of it. Here's my question for you to kick this off.
Okay.
Where are we, in your opinion, with people, let's just keep it here in the U.S. for a minute, with people here having a good sense of what Lyme disease is? In your opinion, where are we?
I think we're in the beginning stages of that. there's a lot of people who still keep coming in, and they say they're told, Lyme isn't found in Florida, or, there aren't any practitioners in my area, or my doctor says, it's easy to treat, and, quotes the IDSA guidelines, and that I hear that probably every other day, if not every day.
This is really interesting. The past couple of shows I've done here, was so very important to do because I lived on the East Coast for most of my life, right? Went to school in California, but I moved to Seattle, Washington. And believe it or not, and I think you know this, and I wish, this is part of the show today. This is really your brilliance, Greg. This is what I love about what you do. Is if you go to the website for the state of Washington, they are very clear in saying Lyme disease doesn't exist here. The only cases we have, all 23 of them, according to them, are from people that are from another state. Now, let's start with what you talk about when you say creating an avalanche Lyme disease awareness. How could it be possible, in your opinion, and based on what you've discovered research, how is it that, this disease, given the way we know it gets carried through ticks, how does it decide what state it wants to be in?
Well, obviously, deer and ticks, birds, whatever animals carrying it, they don't see state lines, and, we obviously, but there's a lot of state agencies, medical providers, they're just going on misinformation or old information, and it really takes kind of like a grassroots effort to really educate them and say, hey, this is really an issue here. I mean, the woman in Lyme, Connecticut, she, kept banging on her state or local health providers, and they didn't listen to her for the longest time.
Yeah.
So, it's almost like you need a very profound, sustained effort in really bringing this out.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we're on the cutting edge of that.
It's really clear to me that given the work that you're doing, and, we'll talk about this in depth, right? That this is something you're passionate about. What is it that has gotten you to be such a warrior around this, to really come forth? Give us an example of what you've seen. Clearly, the website goodbyelyme.com, getting rid of incredibly persistent Lyme disease. Given that this is really you stepping forward, what has been your motivation?
I worked with chronic illness patients before I really started working with Lyme. This is probably about 17 years ago. And before that, before I got into healthcare, I used to work at NASA as an engineer integrating spacecraft together. So big problems, we're trying to measure, worked on the Hubble Space Telescope. We're trying to measure big things, and we had to know how even the smallest component affects the bigger projects. So taking that kind of experience into working with patients, it's like, hey, we can try to kill this infection, but there's a whole system here that there's side effects. There's other challenges here that we need to work with. We need to really get in there and help these people to heal, not just knock out some diagnosed infection. So for me, it was 17 years ago, this patient came in and they were sick, and I didn't know anything about Lyme back then. And then over the decades, it's been hundreds of patients coming, and the early ones taught me a lot. And, I still learn a lot from the ones that come now. And then about 5 years ago, my daughter got bit by a tick that was infected with Bartonella.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, man, didn't see that one coming, totally missed it. And so that's my personal iron in the fire. Plus, I'm in a very tick endemic area here in Maryland, so, it could be any time when one of my family or I get bit again.
Yeah. Isn't that really part of this when we talk about avalanche of awareness, right? Isn't that even part of the conversation, right? That, we're talking about one thing when we talk about somebody and, my heart goes out to you because there's nothing that really gets right to the matter of things than to see our children really struggle. But,
Yeah.
here we are. The idea that, wait a minute, the probability of getting bit again is really high in some parts of the country. We're going to take a short break, Greg. When we come back, we're going to talk with Greg about a number of different things. But what does it mean? What does creating an avalanche of Lyme disease awareness mean? And what does that initiative get to the very, very heart of? The other thing is, what can all of you do to help? Another thing, please, 1-800-930-2819. Phone lines are always open during the shows for those of you who want to join in on the conversation or have questions. We'll be right back.
Wisdom Fall Harvest Festival is coming up right around the corner on October 24th from 10:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. with free admission located at the North Seattle Community College in the Conference Center. Festivities include a silent auction, healers, educational booths, delicious food, and a variety of vendors. You won't want to miss this fun-filled event. For more information, visit womenofwisdom.org and we'll see you there.
Transformation Talk Radio is dedicated to the education and awareness of Lyme disease.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Lyme Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Pat, joined here by
Dr. Nusheen Darvish.
Dr. Pat Baccili and Dr. Nusheen Darvish will be bringing the most innovative, groundbreaking information, research, treatment innovations, and stories from those it affects every day.
I'm so excited to be talking about this.
We have so much to share.
Dr. Darvish and I are planning to do is connect the dots.
People suffering with all sorts of chronic diseases, it's time. It is time for them to transform.
Tune into Lyme Talk Radio and help keep our mission strong.
For the loyal listeners out there that have been listening to this incredible show on Lyme disease, we are not going to let you down. We're going to come through stronger and enrich the platform for Lyme disease awareness through Lyme Talk Radio. The message will continue, the conversations will become stronger, and the healing epic.
Hi, I'm Tim Darter.
And I'm Steve Kramer.
Join us on Spirit Fire Radio. Discover how to add the mechanics of meditation to your day.
And watch yourself connect in a whole new way. Find the amazing moments in life's routines that often pass us by. Add to your awareness with Spirit Fire Radio.
Tune in each Wednesday at 9 a.m. for your weekly guide to practical mindfulness. And to learn more, visit www.spiritfireradio.com.
Enlightening, humorous, and compassionate. Listen live to The Kelly Ballard Show, insight and inspiration from the great beyond. Kelly is a fourth-generation medium and intuitive who covers topics ranging from grief, spirit guides, and listening to your intuition. Kelly can help you get answers and guidance from the other side with a little bit of humor and a lot of healing. Tune in to The Kelly Ballard Show, Thursdays at 1 p.m. Pacific Time here on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
1230 WBLQ.
Everybody, it's great to have Greg Lee joining me here today. You know, what I love about this is when you get to know who Greg is, and certainly you can go to goodbyelyme.com. You know, I love this idea that here he is, this engineer, this scientist, you know, somebody that is been part of leadership and leadership consulting, master's degree of acupuncture and Chinese herbal certification, master Sufi healer. And I love this. Two Frogs Healing Center, Greg and Two Frogs. And what is it about this that gives many of us hope? What it gives us hope about is that Greg has treated several hundred people with Lyme and co-infections over the past 17 years. Now, if this is one individual that has done this, how many others have not had the opportunity to be treated? Greg, thank you for joining me here today. I would love to talk about over a 17-year period. What was this like for you 17 years ago? And how did you approach Lyme then? And what has happened in 17 years? And have you had to change, and in what ways?
17 years ago, I didn't know anything about Lyme disease, and I just applied what I had learned in my training that helped fibromyalgia patients, chronic pain patients, and some of it helped, but a lot of it, the patient would come back with relapsing symptoms, or they'd say, it helped, but only for a couple of days. So it was rather frustrating because I was used to more long-lasting changes in fibromyalgia patients and, chronic pain patients. So for me, being an engineer, working, very highly big teams of people who are, PhDs and all this stuff, I was like, we got to research this. And at the time, there wasn't much published out there. There was more stuff on drugs, but not much on natural treatments and remedies. So I went and explored what do the Chinese do with similar diseases? What are other spirochete diseases like syphilis and leptospirosis? What are other protozoa diseases that are similar to Babesia? The obvious big one's malaria. What's working for those? How do I bring those to these people who aren't getting better with whatever medications they're taking or whatever they're doing to try to, themselves? And so it's been trial and error and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, just hearing the stories over, decades of how people are suffering. It just, breaks my heart. And I want to help people. So for me, being a geek, I research stuff and I put it out, hey, here's an article, boom. Here's a training, a webinar, boom. And so for me, it's like kind of using like the open software model where people make software and they just publish it and say, here, go use it. And that's the way I've been approaching this. Mm-hmm. And one of my mentors, this crazy New Zealander, he said, you need to make something like the secret library that when people find it, it's like, whoa, where has this been? So I said, that is a cool idea, man. So that's what I've been doing is like, what are the things that aren't being written about? What are the challenges? What are the remedies that, people are like, what is that herb? Or what is that essential oil? Or bee venom? You do what with that?
Right. Well, this is really part of the way we get to demystify things. I think that folks are really looking at ways to integrate some of the ancient ways and things that existed before a pill, potion, or lotion. And I think that, today when I'm looking at the world we live in, aren't you finding, Greg, that, albeit maybe the progress a bit small, people are much more open to looking at some of these natural remedies, even if like we are talking about bee venom.
Yeah. When people aren't getting better, that it's like they hit the wall and things aren't working. That's an opening. It's sad to say some people, really have to suffer a lot to get there. However, there's a big difference between a person who's just recently infected and they're like, well, it's an interesting option is what you do. But when you talk to someone who's, been through the mill, they've done intravenous, they've done orals, they've done Cowden, they've done Buhner, Rife, and they're still sick, it's like, help me figure out what's been missing. Yeah. And that's what I get over and over again, day after day. And it's like, for me, I'm a problem solver. And, it's like, I can't sleep unless I figure something out. So yeah, maybe that's one of my, obsessive qualities, but hopefully I'm using it in a good way.
Well, yeah, you are, because one of the things that is so interesting, and I would love for you to talk about this, is this idea about creating a tipping point, as you say, in your presentations and in the things that you write about, creating a tipping point in Lyme awareness. And, for many people, we don't even know what we don't know, meaning we don't even know what the questions are to ask. Something goes on, you may be feeling a little lightheaded, maybe even you black out, right? Maybe you black out and you hit a tree with your car, and all of a sudden everybody's demystified. And some doctor knows well enough to give you a Lyme test because maybe you live in a state where it's prevalent. But then there's no real information they give you back from that, and you don't even know what to ask. As a matter of fact, Greg, you don't even know that you can ask for a copy of your test. So what does it mean to create a tipping point in Lyme awareness?
Well, I'm referring to Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point, and he really identifies, several kinds of people and things that need to happen in order to create that bigger public awareness. He describes three kinds of people. There are connectors. Those are the ones that know everybody and connect people up together. Hey, you need to meet this person, who does this over here, and, I'm going to hook you up. And it's like, awesome. And then he talks about the mavens. They're like the geeks, the information specialists, and that's me. I'm definitely a maven because I love to accumulate knowledge and use it. Be an engineer. It's great having all this knowledge, but if it doesn't work, great. That's interesting. But I want stuff that works. I want stuff that, I don't want a person in treatment any longer than they have to. If I can get them detox more quickly, hey, wet cupping, boom. Like one patient came in, he was told by his Lyme doc, you're the 2% of the population I can't help. And he was like crushed, because he had spent all this time and money and energy and saying like, help me. And he's just like, it's not working. And, this guy is like a rock star. And I'm like, man, if that guy can't help you, oh man, the pressure's on. And the thing that really helped clear his brain out, get him, back and work was cupping his head. Putting his cups on, drawing out this thick stuff that when they analyze it in different studies, it's full of toxins and inflammation and fibrin. And he felt like awesome in his brain for weeks after that. Yeah. And it was like the one thing that really opened things up for him. And then, Malcolm talks about a third kind of person, the salespeople. They're the persuaders, the charismatic people. They can really help communicate things in a way that people really understand and agree with. So, and then it's like crafting the message. What's a sticky message? There's a great book, Made to Stick, by Chip and Dan Heath. It's really, they look at, what are the messages that really stick? What do we really need to have? It needs to be simple. What's the simple idea around Lyme that people can get it? But what's also unexpected that really grabs their attention? I was doing some math here, and I was looking at, okay, a tick produces 1,000 eggs a year. So one tick would produce, if all 1,000 lived, would produce 1 billion ticks in 3 years. That was like, oh my gosh, 1 billion ticks from one tick? That's like, blew my mind. It was like, it also made me not want to ever go out in the woods again.
Exactly.
And then the next thing is the message needs to be concrete. You can grasp it, you can remember it later. And then it needs to be credible. Why is this really believable? There's a thing, maybe that's because of their biofilms and they make detection difficult with blood tests. But it's kind of a plausible theory. Hey, they're hiding back in there, and that's a way that we need better testing or we need better diagnostics, And then there's also the emotional component, which I think a lot of people are really bringing forward by sharing their story, about how they're struggling and they can't take care of their families, and just how it's really in some ways challenged them and, put them through what I call the hero's journey by referring to Joseph Campbell. Yeah. And then the last thing is stories. And not only just stories about how people are suffering, but what are the stories that are really going to empower people? Not only the people who are suffering with Lyme, but also their families, their friends, medical providers, people who have the ability to, change how we look at illness like these in America. What are policymakers doing? How do we do that? So really, it's identifying these kinds of people, I think, in the Lyme community and saying, hey, are you interested in working on a tipping point strategy? Let's find those connectors, those mavens, those salespeople. And then one of the things I do is I run surveys to say, hey, what problems are you dealing with here? If you could talk to me for 15 minutes, what would you ask me? And then people feed me back, these huge answers like, oh my gosh, that's how I learned that physicians, other medical providers need more education on Lyme. It's just through running a survey, and it was unexpected.
Oh, it's great. I love this strategy. I love the way you're approaching this. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, Greg is going to take us on a journey of, what is it that we need to do to really get the attention of the medical profession. He gave us a little idea of it right here, but how about this idea of implementing a strategy? How is it that each and every one of us can help? We can help. What is it that we are called to do to eliminate practitioner confusion? When we come back, we'll talk about some of the symptoms. We'll talk about some of the solutions. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Southern rain, there's a full moon in sight, shining down on the Parker train, and the river she rises.
Tune in to Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly Neff. This hit show will illuminate your senses and empower you beyond your daily stressors and hardships. Renowned psychologist and author Dr. Kelly will captivate you with far-reaching topics and amazing guests as you wake to the greatest version of yourself. Learn to tap into your intuitions, think critically about our world, heal emotional and psychological wounds, and follow your passions to live your dreams. The Lucid Planet. Welcome home. Visit lucidplanetradio.com for more information.
Can you keep your lifestyle in retirement? It's a question people often wonder about. Ask Ameriprise financial advisor Jeff Packman about the new Confident Retirement Approach. You and Jeff can break down retirement planning step by step to get the real answers you need. In fact, 93% of clients who have had the Confident Retirement Approach conversation feel more confident about their retirement. Call Jeff Packman, financial advisor, at 425-453-0272 for your Confident Retirement conversation today. Office is located at 601 108th Avenue Northeast, Suite 1800, Bellevue, Washington, 98004. Percentage based on Ameriprise Financial Confident Retirement Client Survey as of December 2013. The Confident Retirement Approach is not a guarantee of future financial results. Investment and advisory products and services are made available through Ameriprise Financial Services Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Ameriprise Financial Services Incorporated, member of FINRA and SIPC.
Are you ready for a radical shift in your way of being? Are you seeking a more deeply connected and fulfilling life? Awakened Living Radio is a show dedicated to helping you embrace a life filled with profound peace, connection, and happiness. TJ Woodward is passionate about helping you find your clarity, balance, and purpose. Join co-host TJ Woodward and Dr. Pat Baccili on the first Monday of every month at 11 a.m. Pacific Time for Awakened Living Radio on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Do you know how to achieve wellness in all areas of your life? Hi, I'm Mary Jane Mack. Signs of wellness are a capacity to love and ability to nurture, a sense of purpose, a good sense of humor and plenty of fun in your life, a concern for others and a respect for the environment, a conscious commitment to personal excellence, a sense of balance and integrated lifestyle, and capacity to cope with whatever life presents. Well people enjoy their lives and want them to last as long as possible. That's why the wellness mindset usually accompanies other constructive, healthy lifestyle habits. By adopting a wellness mindset and behaviors like eating well, taking the right nutrition for the body, exercising, and saying affirmations are just a few things to structure a healthy system of values and beliefs. I will be your wellness coach to help you achieve a wellness lifestyle. Call us at 888-777-4232. That's 888-777-4232. And visit us at MaryJaneMack.com.
into sheer alchemy with Leslie Fontaine on TransformationTalkRadio.com and get ready to stir up your passions, remove your blocks, and shift into an entirely new existence. Speaker, teacher, channel, clairvoyant, Leslie Fontaine is a transformation catalyst who channels a powerful energy from source to catapult listeners into living the life they were born to live. Whether it's shifting from scarcity to abundance, from emotional pain into joy, or from illness into health, Leslie will help you step into the true essence and power of all that you are with the help of the Ascended Masters and Archangels. You will not be the same. Visit TransformationTalkRadio.com for show dates and times and LeslieFontaine.com to say yes to explosive abundance.
1230 WBLQ.
Is love so fragile and the heart so hollow? Shadow with the words impossible to follow.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. I am so thrilled that I am joined today. You're listening to Lyme Talk Radio. I'm so thrilled that I get to talk to Greg Lee today. You know, part of this is in how he and I get to come to the forefront today to express in a short period of time a bit about what the journey has been like and what's on our radar. So creating an avalanche of Lyme disease awareness is this conversation today. How can we overcome the challenges in training medical providers in treating Lyme disease? Now, you know, Greg, one of the things that you've pointed out and continue to point out in your work and what you present is there are many layers of training, right? I said before the break, well, we don't even know the questions to ask. And we just got a question that came in from a listener asking a very simple question, you know, from Jonas in Vermont. How can I find a doctor? How can I find a doctor that understands Lyme? Jonas, thank you. Great question. Because doesn't this really talk to the point of where we are in this journey a bit, Greg?
Of course. You know, there's Google is, you know, and talking to iLads are some of the best, you know, sources. And then there's also the local Lyme groups. Then they're a great resource for finding practitioners that may not be on, you know, have a high visibility on the internet, but through word of mouth, they find out, hey, this is what I got. This is what happened. This is what, you know, results I got. We're going to this practitioner. So I think, you know, it's working with
can get a hold of you too. I mean, they could also get a hold of you too. You know, I mean, there are people like you that are out there, people like me that are out there that we give out our information. And what we say is, look, shoot me an email and maybe I can point you in the right direction. You know, if there's no way, you know, for you to get help. Or here's how I can help you. Here's what here's what I'm doing. Because, you know, Goodbye Lyme, this system too that you developed as well. I mean, this is really what we're talking about, Greg, when we're talking about breakthrough solutions today, right? Breakthrough solutions today. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about is, I think one of the greatest misconceptions we have about Lyme disease is that people don't die from it. People don't die from it. The general population believes it is a tick bite, get over it. But we still are not believing that people can actually die from it. We hear a lot about the suffering, but we don't really hear about, you know, the critical nature of this. Why do you think that is? And what can we do to create this avalanche of Lyme disease awareness?
Well, hopefully we won't have to create it by more people dying. That would be, I think, yeah, we need to bring out the drama, the true stories in a different way so that people who hear them can really get that heartfelt message like, wow, that's something I really need to pay attention to. Or, wow, man, that's a problem that can happen to me. Oh, yeah, I see deer in my yard. gee, maybe they do have a bunch of ticks, and the ticks gave me that. Whoa, I never thought about that. I never thought about tick bites. It's like identifying what's the latent problem, because, most of the people who come to my training, I've been training medical providers for the past 6 years, and most of the providers, either they have Lyme or they have family members with Lyme, or they have patients that have it and what they're doing isn't working.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the three main people who contact me and say, hey, I want to learn what you've got to offer because what I'm doing isn't working. And so it's how do we not only keep nurturing, helping those people, but also the people that they know. How do we help give them the tools to say, hey, here's your family and friends. Wow, this is really a problem. This is really, a challenging issue. And, there's some really cutting edge things here, like, using electrical frequency scans to detect, the signatures of maybe different infections. I mean, that been a huge thing for us. Actually learned it from Dr. Cowden, was using these frequencies, say, hey, we look at over 400 different infections, and it's like, whoa, it costs, I think it was him or some other physician was saying, oh, yeah, if you get in a blood test for that, it'd be like $12,000. And be like, what? Mm-hmm. No.
Wow.
Get me out of here. But, doing the scan, you can do it, it's not FDA approved for diagnosis. However, at iLads, there's a lot of iLads docs that are using electrodermal scanning now. So, it's coming into the Lyme world, but outside the Lyme world, it doesn't pass the muster of FDA approved, diagnosis. So, that's something that can help, perhaps the general population to understand, maybe there's more going on here than just what's showing up on my test or my doctor's clinical evaluation.
Yeah, you're so right about this. I mean, I have somebody I know very close to me just went. They said, go get a Lyme's test, and went and got the test. And, of course, Dr. Darvish said, please ask for this test. Please send it to this lab. Of course, they couldn't do any of that. And I said to her, well, what was your result? She said, well, I don't have Lyme. I said, do you mind getting a copy of the test? So she calls them, and they said, well, we don't have a copy of the test. And I thought, how is that even possible? So I think we have, we're not just knowing the right question, right? It's not just knowing the right question, but boy, you got to be persistent. Let's go to the phones. We've got one of our fabulous listeners calling. Okay, everybody, we're ready. Brian, Jody, we've got Jody joining us here today.
Yes, we do. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Jody.
Hi there. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking my call.
How can we help you today? Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, I'm going to try to be brief here.
Okay.
After 57 doctors and a week at Mayo, we moved from Utah to Pittsburgh, and my daughter was diagnosed with Lyme. The first test was negative. I had made them put her on Doxy anyway. The second test we did through Igenex, and it came back with a recent infection, which I know she's probably had it since birth. A month later, I was diagnosed. The next month, my husband, and that same month, my son. So we all have this varying degree of symptoms. My daughter was a Division I college athlete, and right now has trouble holding up a fork. She has now like dysautonomia, POTS. She has IBS. She, when she stands, the blood pools at her lower legs. She has like a chicken wire look there. Her knees are grinding. She has severe anxiety and depression now. That actually happened after the second dose of after her first 30-day Doxy. She got this weird sunburn-like rash, and she hadn't been on the center chest and her back. And then mentally, her Lyme doctor said she kind of got Lyme brain. But the problem we're having now is she's in so much pain that she has trouble walking, but she wants to exercise. I mean, she just, she's lost 30 pounds. And so I'm trying to figure out, we have her on LB Core protocol. She was on a lot of standard processed things, over like 250 pills a day, but we stopped it. Her stomach got better. Another doctor put her on glutathione, and it messed her up again. I think she herxes really bad. She's had a couple colonics. I don't know where to go. I don't know how to help her with her knee pain. It's not red or swollen, so it's not like typical. It's in her arms and her wrists and her shoulders.
Yep.
So I've done a lot of research, but I'm just not sure where else to go. Or she does meditation. We're just really trying, but this is a fairly recent diagnosis for all of us. But so that's why I'm calling.
Yeah, I have to tell you, my heart goes out to you and your family, and I'm so glad you did call in. Because, this is really, for many people, this is a way to at least have somebody that at least understands what you're talking about, really hear you. So let's see what Greg has to say, and let's see what I can add to it. Go ahead, Greg.
So my patients that have a reaction to glutathione, they may have an intolerance to sulfur. Sometimes they might have the SUOX genetic SNP polymorphism, which means you have trouble essentially processing sulfur. So it's a matter, what I find is if people are in pain, often there's, excess inflammation, toxicity that is having trouble getting out of the body. Yep. So one of the treatments that helps relieve pain in my patients fairly quickly, not in all of them, but in some of them, is a technique called wet cupping. I'm an acupuncturist, so we do, ancient medicine, things like that, where you put suction cups on, then you needle them underneath the cups.
Yeah. So Greg,
Greg,
we've done that with her.
Yeah. And then there's also what other is a form of something called moxibustion. There's a very pure form of it that is helpful in patients with Bartonella pain and Mycoplasma babesia pain. So if you have a practitioner that's done the cupping, they can get the ultra pure moxa. Another thing is
can you tell me what that is again?
Pardon me?
I'm sorry. Can you tell me what that is again? But I can't spell that.
Well, one of the things that I think I would like to do too is connect you with Greg directly, because I think if you two can connect off there too, that would be much better for him to be able to communicate with you directly via email or some way, because some of these items are really right now they are being used and have had results. But he said something very interesting, and he's right. Sometimes, we are allergic to some of the things like glutathione. You would never think, wow, I might be allergic to that, but you could be. And I just want to just say this to you, that because, if you work with somebody, somebody that knows how to check for allergies. For example, I was given oregano, and I eat oregano. I'm Italian. And there's no way that an oregano capsule should have put me in a state of anaphylactic shock, but boom, there I was. So it could be some of these things that, she's taking in right now that could be causing some of this problem that have nothing really to do with, Hertz reaction or any of that. That's really one of the things, Greg, that I have discovered as well. Some of us are allergic to some of the treatments, and yet it's hard to figure that out, isn't it?
Most of my patients have a higher sensitivity to different foods, and often what's underlying that is a condition called leaky gut. Their intestines are leaking, it goes in the blood, it makes them much more hypersensitive to different compounds, foods, pollen. And that's I think one of the big underlying problems that I think we'll see being addressed more and more as, we find research what happens with Lyme patients, what's going on underneath their symptoms. So, I'd love to connect with you after the show. And there's a webpage I have for the show, goodbyelyme.com/Lyme Talk. And you can go there, and I'm sharing my notes with anyone who wants to. I have a little PowerPoint slide that I developed for Pat. So if you want a copy of that, I can share that with you if you go to that webpage and give me your contact info.
Yeah, and that would be great. The other thing I would say is, we talked about this before. I don't know if you have a means by which to travel, or your daughter has a means to travel. Are you able to travel together?
Yes, but I've been having to drive her because the change and the pressure from the plane just gets her pain up so high, and we don't know how to dial it back down after. But, that was a few months back, and so maybe she can handle something now. But, we'll do whatever, whatever we can.
One of the things you can do is also email me, and I will talk to you offline as well, because for many of us, we know some doctors and some folks that, are handling this and really helping people and really curing people. And I would like to get you in touch with them, because this is really, when you have something as complex as I'm hearing you talk about, there are layers that have to be peeled back. And I think Greg talked about it as well. So you can email me at info at thedrpatshow.com. That's THEDR patshow.com. Just email me, and we'll schedule a time to chat, and I'll get you pointed in the right direction, and so will Greg.
Thank you so much, you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you for calling.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yes,
well,
thanks. Okay, bye-bye.
This really brings a topic to the forefront, and that is what we were talking about. When you were mentioning practitioners and how confused they are, we're not just talking about practitioners that are not Lyme literate. We're also talking about practitioners that are Lyme literate, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. And a lot of them approach me at conferences and saying, hey, what are you doing for this? How do you deal with Herxheimer's? What do you do for brain inflammation? What do you do for infection in here? And it's like, we have these sideline conversations. And then they usually come with a comment like, well, you need to present at the conference next year. And I'm like, well, sure, well, happy to do that. But, because a lot of these people are having, patients that just don't fit the protocol model or whatever treatment model they're using. And they're saying, like, we need more tools. And for me, it's like, I need more tools, and let me share what's working. And, it might be kind of out there, but, it's worked in similar cases, say, in China. So let's try it.
Yeah. And this is really what we're talking about is, coming together and really having, a way of talking about something that is so misconceived. Like, many people think that, wow, okay, bullseye rash. If I don't get a bullseye rash, just something like that. Let's just talk about that for a minute. If I don't get a bullseye rash, wow, then I must be in the clear. And I think that has probably been one of the greatest misconceptions, not to mention some of the articles that are out there that many of us are writing rebuttals to. One article in particular that was issued last year by a science magazine, basically saying there's nothing to be afraid of. And, information was presented that wasn't correct. So, talk a little bit about what some of the misconceptions are that people can be made more aware of.
Well, there's a lot of medical providers that I talk to. I have medical providers in my family, and they're like, when I went through, like a recent graduate I talked to, he went through med school about 2 years ago, and I was looking through his Harrison's textbook, and they had stuff that was published, about 30 years ago about Lyme, and that's what he was taught. And it was just like, well, there's a lot of stuff since then. It's like, yeah, the textbooks are always behind the latest, and it takes a long time to get them updated. So, there's out-of-date information. Plus, there's in some medical providers in my area, there's a belief that Lyme is a psychosomatic illness. It's all in the head. And, they're not open to hearing about how it can be a real chronic illness, how it really can be a very, debilitating disease. And for me, my strategy is, I'm not going to try to convert the people who aren't open. I want to find as many open people as I can, share, collaborate. Let's figure this out together. It takes a village. You've heard the quote, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to heal people, a community of Lyme disease. So
it does. It does take a community. It does take a community. What have you discovered over time about, some of these things that people have, had shown up, whether it be emotional or physical, where they haven't really been able to kind of put it together. And boy, this hour has gone by rather quickly. What suggestions might you give for people in trying to get underneath what's really going on with them?
Well, I think the most important thing is to kind of track how fast are your symptoms progressing, because that gives you a sense of how much time you have to research options. I really think the Lyme support groups can be a very useful resource, and really hearing what other people are going through, but also hearing about what's working for them. And there's conferences, a lot of the professional conferences, there's, patient advocates there, and just collaborating with the practitioners at those meetings can be very helpful. I just think that at NASA I worked in a lab, and we had very smart people working together, on some very difficult challenges. And I'm like, we can do that with medicine too. Let's get some people who are work well in a team together, can get behind, what are some ways we can really figure this out? Are you a salesman? Are you a maven? Or are you, one of these people who, connects everyone else together? And then figure out how can we then move forward with educating not only practitioners, but also everyone else.
Yeah, what a great show. Thank you so much, Greg. Would you please, I want to take a minute so that you can give out some information to people. They can find out more about you, the website, and also, what's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
So my website is goodbyelyme.com, and at goodbyelyme.com/Lyme Talk, you can get a copy of the slides that I used to prepare for this interview. Also, I have a training for medical providers. There's some information there. The next one is starting on January 8th. And also, if you go to the website, my contact information is there too. Email for most general inquiries is at twofrogshealingcenter@gmail.com. You'll get to me that way also. So I think the last thing I want to add was, because people ask me, what's the one most important thing that, you want to tell people? And, I think I've got to wrap it up. There's a guy who was captured in Vietnam. He was a prisoner of war, and he was asked, what's the most important thing that you learned over there? Mm-hmm. And he was a general, and he said, the most important thing I learned was, not only did I need to, dig down deep inside and find this place inside of me that knows that I'm going to prevail, call it your heart, call it your spirit, whatever it is. But I also had to confront the brutal facts that I was not going to get out of there by Christmas.
Yeah.
So it's that combination of digging deep inside and finding the resources within, but also confronting what's the next thing I need to do to make it through.
I love it. Greg Lee, everybody. Thank you guys for tuning us in and turning us on. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to Lyme Talk Radio with Dr. Pat Baccili, Epic Healing for an Epic Life. This inspiring show highlights leading-edge solutions, groundbreaking research, headline topics, and tools for holistic healing and wellness. This hit show is dedicated to raising awareness, promoting advocacy and prevention, and supporting initiatives for optimal health. Dr. Pat is passionate and focused on life-saving results reaching far beyond Lyme disease, providing a forum for powerful stories, heart-opening experiences, and hope-activated solutions. Dr. Pat will shine a light on the many shades of Lyme disease, fueled by a body-mind-spirit remedy. For more information, visit LymeTalkRadio.com and tune in next time.